welcome back to the development vlog. It's been a while, got some interesting stuff to show, so let's just get into it, yeah? There's no cringe memes this time, I promise. Just shit ones instead. We're starting out strong this time. Last time I said I was going to work on some interactions, maybe some more complicated ones, and here's an example of that. It's a nice ladder, it's got sounds and everything, and it's mostly smooth. Here also the movement animation is fixed, so now I don't glitch around when I'm moving directly backwards, which is great. Anyway, that's some stuff that needed fixing from last time. Now let's go on to the juicy bits. I've kept the name Haze for that sort of radiation style feature I mentioned last time. I've represented this as a scalar value, which is just a fancy term for a number, a float with a minimum of 0. I can place a grid down in the world, and this grid has a diffusion algorithm that I can run on it, using a separate thread so as not to slow everything down, If this grid diffusion becomes a performance issue still, if it becomes prohibitively large, I can look into making it an octree. But never mind that for now, it's enough to see it working at least. I've gone and attached a source of haze to the player character, and I've added some debug visualization so you can see the grid turn red where there's haze. You wouldn't be able to see this in game, of course. If I reduce the drainage coefficient here, the haze, you can see it sticks around for longer, and if I lower the diffusion coefficient, for example, the haze spreads out more slowly. Simple stuff. So now let's add some items that can respond to the haze. Here's a locker door, for example. If we were to walk past this, wouldn't it be cool if it sort of responds? Well, now it does. Or this pressure gauge, for example. Now that one responds as well. Or this light over here, it's simple enough to do. I've also got a clock here, which ticks slower or faster depending on the haze. No sound yet, but easy to add in later. And then, here's an interesting one. Here's an object on the floor. It's a small piece of a ladder. Yeah, no, what it is isn't important. Here's what's important. When there's heavy haze over it, and I look away and then look back, it moves. Really spooky, right? And they can also move when there's no light on them, though right now it's done via a collision volume, and I should probably do it by analysing the actual screen's render data, but that's besides the point. It's a problem for later me. Anyway, the point is, this is an interesting system with a lot of gameplay and atmospheric potential. So the first problem that it solves is the issue of familiarity. Scary monsters become less scary when you can see them and get used to them. If everywhere the creature goes is shrouded in smoke from bursting pipes and strobed by infrequent light, it'll make the creature's details hard to make out. It also in general leads to a more stressful environment with less ability to focus on the thing in the first place, so two birds, one stone. In terms of gameplay, we can have things like doors that open when unobserved, but which require a high level of haze to do so, and are telegraphed by the door vibrating, increasing in strength. It would necessitate the player to attract the creature to them to produce the haze, so they can't stay away from it forever, but it also needs them to stay hidden, and it keeps the tension ramped up, things like that. Anyway, the reason why this is generally important is because of something I've been considering, something that I want to achieve for my game. What I want can essentially be boiled down into two phrases: scripted, cinematic level moments, dynamically generated gameplay. I'll explain what I mean by this, because that's just jargon. Here's a moment I really enjoyed in the game Madison. You have your normal jump scares, but there's a corridor in the game that has a statue that's sat at the end in shadow. Now, at some point in the game, the statue is replaced by your run-of-the-mill demon man standing ominously in the dark, and you have to walk past him. Or this moment, this chase through the vents in Poppy Playtime. God, I hate the name of that stupid game. It's like going into a restaurant and being forced to say the names that they've named their menu items. Rooty Tooty Fresh and Fruity. No, I just want some pancakes, man. Stop with that. Anyway, this chase scene with this lanky fucker being right behind you, These are scripted moments that you just don't get in a game like Alien Isolation. What I want is for there to be situations that can happen in certain circumstances, but not always happening. I want the monster to appear sometimes in the flickering dark, sitting ominously, forcing the player to be nearby them if they want to progress. But I don't want the monster to always be in that same spot every time you play. I want the creature to chase the player, and I want the player to barely be able to make it out in time, having shelves crashing over, pipes bursting and blocking their path, doors being mysteriously shut and requiring quick thinking, but I don't want the same pipe to burst every playthrough, and I don't want the game to take you the same route every time you run. This whole objects appearing in the dark thing, and the game logic that necessitates, it can be used in future for the monster's AI, and it's the first step in getting that cinematic experience I want. In future, for dynamic chase scenes, I'd probably need to create a graph view of the level like this, and track progress along it, accounting for potential delays I can throw at the player, and potential safe spots they want to reach, in order to keep the monster close behind and keep things spicy, you know? As for the monster itself, I'm beginning to get it animating. Here it is, crawling its horrible little way across the floor. It's using entirely procedural animation, and I'm learning control rig as I go, but it seems like it's a pretty powerful tool so far, and it looks wonderful for letting me lay a gross little inhuman shivers and movement over the top of its base poses. I don't think I'm using it quite right yet, and it's still a bit glitchy, so it needs some work, but it's a good start, and it's what I'll be working on for the next time.